Well, thank you all so much for joining us this evening. Welcome to Sound Collective. We are here at 28 Broadway, a wonderful facility with tons of incredible gear to check out and monthly memberships. You can come use the stuff. And we also have an online platform to check out at soundcollective.com. But we are here tonight for our Collective Connect event series. So thank you all for joining us, and thank you to everybody who's viewing from the live stream. Let's dive right into it. We are here today on a wonderful panel discussion with Kai William and Kyle Walker. Please welcome them to Collective Connect. Yes, thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us. We're excited to be here.
Yeah, glad we made this possible. Just to kind of get things started, you guys are playing tomorrow night at Musica. So we were able to get you both here for that, which is awesome. So thank you both for coming and joining us.
Of course. Thank you. Yeah.
That should be a wonderful event, and that venue's sick if you haven't been.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Never been. Yeah, excited.
Talking to the mic.
Yeah, how many of you guys are coming tomorrow? Very cool.
Nice.
Let's get all the hands up.
And we are to be raffling off 4 tickets to the event tomorrow, but we'll handle that after this discussion for the last 30 minutes of the event tonight, because we're going to have tickets for everybody if you didn't get one already. So let's dive into it. Let's talk a little bit about your backgrounds. I mean, you guys are both insanely talented producers, incredible DJs, and let's kind of go one by one where you kind of came up and what got you first into music.
What's up, guys? Kyle. I got into music really early in life, just like listening wise. My family never really pushed music or like had it on in the house. I kind of discovered it on my own in a way, and it all started in middle school. I joined the band class, started with trombone, did 2 years of that and loved it, but I guess got in my head a bit about like the stigma of music class and high school and being judged. And I didn't want to like deal with all that. So dropped it for like a couple years and then rediscovered bass music, like dubstep. And then it was kind of just like a roller coaster from there. Spent maybe like 2 years trying to do dubstep, and then found Disclosure's album Settle. And then from there, it's just been house music.
So you went from the band trombone era straight into dubstep and house?
Yeah.
That's kind of amazing. Yeah. That's sweet. Did you have any earlier influences before electronic music, or it was kind of just like learn something at school and then go straight into just, electronic music?
Yeah, no like real influences other than just like Kiss FM, K-Rock on
That's
the radio.
right. You were chatting earlier. You were born and raised in
Los Angeles.
Los Angeles, yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. So the radio out there is very LA, California forward, I feel like, right?
Yeah, a lot of Sublime, a lot of...
Chili Peppers,
yeah,
all
exactly.
that stuff. Yeah,
exactly. Singing
cool.
with your shirt off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. DJing with your shirt off next.
Yeah, exactly.
Very Cali vibes. No, that's cool, though.
Yeah.
So you got straight into it pretty early on. How about you, Kai?
Yeah, so I've been DJing since I was 12. I got into music very, very young. No one in my family's done music, but my friend's father owned a like corporate wedding bar mitzvah DJ company. So I would go help him out, and then over time I just started DJing there, got into it, went to college, and I was just DJing like top 40, like hip hop, stuff like that.
Bar mitzvah and wedding music.
Yeah, bar mitzvah music for sure.
Yeah.
And then come college, I started to dabble in like EDM and stuff like that. And then I got my own night in Atlantic City. And then it got a little more serious after I left school. But I still like wasn't too into like the house music I'm doing now. I just took one night at the Brooklyn Mirage, and that changed all of that. I think, that was kind of my moment. I remember being there, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with myself because I was really into the music. I did photography for a while as well too. And I was just working a normal 9-to-5 corporate job. And I remember being there and just saying, I either want to throw this party or I want to be up there doing it. So I went home and downloaded Ableton that day before I went to bed. And then I just produced every day for like 2 years. I was hooked and didn't take any days off. But
And how long ago was that?
4 years ago.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you dove into it. That's when you made the change from like the events into like
Exactly.
nightlife.
Yeah.
Cool.
The house stuff, I think I had a bit of a different journey than he did, going from trombone right to house music. But yeah.
So then both of you were into DJing first and then kind of got into production after that. Oh, you started in production and then got into DJing. Nice.
Yeah, like I said, when I was 12, so I've been doing it for almost 20 years DJing, which sounds weird to say because I'm not even 30 yet, but
You started really young.
Yeah.
The youngest bar mitzvah DJ in all of New Jersey.
In the history of mankind, yeah.
That's kind of an amazing title to hold, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I should play into that more.
Sick. So you guys have both released on some incredible lists of labels, to name a few off, because I did a little preparation for this. Even though I'm sure most of the people here in the room know, for those of you watching or who are watching later down the line, Kyle has released on a plethora of labels, including Tool Room, Club Sweat, Glasgow Underground, D4 Dance, Repopulate Mars, Another Rhythm, Techni, and In Rotation, to name a few, which is an incredible list of record labels to be associated with. So congratulations on all of that.
Thank you.
We can dive a little deeper into that, but just to not leave Kai hanging, the brains behind And Hera Records and the mastermind behind that also releases on Techni, Desert Hearts, South of Saturn. Anybody else you feel to throw in? Give a shout out.
Yeah, recently I did Knee Deep in Sound, and before that was Solid Grooves.
Nice.
And then before that was Off the Grid, which is now Experts Only.
Dope. So just to kind of talk about the label side of things, how long was it before you guys started kind of getting records signed, once you started producing and getting into that whole world?
Man. Well, I started like producing, I don't know if you can call it music, but like trying to make music, like almost 16, 18 years ago. And like, I didn't start signing music until maybe like stuff I was like actually proud of signing maybe like 4 years ago. So it was a significant amount of time for sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
But the whole time you weren't really pitching to that kind of scene, or, you kind of dabbled in a few different genres, subgenres.
Right. Yeah. When I first got into house scene, I was rejected constantly by labels and still am. But, but yeah, it's just, I think, part of the game for sure.
Do you think it was because of the music or because of other things like maybe your social media or something like that? What do you think was the main factor?
Probably a bit of everything.
A little bit of this and that.
Yeah. But mostly the music for sure wasn't there. I'm glad those records didn't get signed.
But you weren't at the time.
Weren't at the time, yeah.
But then you always look back and say, you know what? I was really upset about that.
Grass
but I'm
is
kind of
greener.
glad that didn't happen. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool. How about you, Kai?
So I produced for I think 6 months, and then I just started firing out demos nonstop. And I'm very, very forward. Just if I want something, I'm just gonna go get it. I think sometimes it plays in my favor, sometimes it doesn't. But I did a lot of collaborating in the beginning, which I think is super important to learn from other people's processes. But because I did that, the music was way ahead of where it should have been because, quite honestly, the other producer was carrying. So I released my first record about 6 months after, and then I started in Hera like 2 months after that, which sounds kind of weird to not even be producing a year and start your own label.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I actually just listened to the first release I put out on there, which was my second release ever. And I was like, what was I thinking? But I don't know. I think it's cool. You can look back on it and see the progression of awful
Stepping
music
stones,
to where we're at now. Yeah.
That's amazing. So, it's pitching stuff to labels. Are you feeling like there's any labels that you haven't accessed yet? Because you guys have some pretty impressive lists here. Are you trying to go into more of like a major label scene at all? Or are you trying to keep it in like the underground tech house and house scene? Are you guys have any goals beyond what you're doing now? Because you guys have such an impressive list of labels that you released with. So like, I mean, you are probably going to self-release a lot of stuff. And I don't know if you have any of the same, ideas there, Kyle.
I definitely commend Kai on starting a label. I think like having an access to release music when you want is like a superpower. And even though he started it earlier than he thought, or he should, or I don't know, but I think it's like a blessing in disguise to have a means to get your music out there, even if other people aren't ready and you are. As for like trying to send music around, I have learned that I think I just want to work with labels who care a lot about the music, because it, at the end of the day, is a way for these guys to make money. And a lot of the times people will just use that and just constantly put out music and music and music just to get a buck and could care less if the record does well or it doesn't. So I've learned just over the years that I want to work with people who really care about the music and really want to push it.
Nice. Not to talk negative about any experiences, but maybe you could share like a positive experience or two that you worked with a label and you're like, oh, this label was really amazing. I really felt like the love back on my release and like the attention that I wanted.
Yeah, Another Rhythm out of the UK is an amazing label. Maybe not the biggest label, but they put their heart and soul into every release. And I know that from my music, so I look at other music that they're signing and know that they're doing the same for that. So I have more interest in songs that they're putting out.
Nice. Yeah, because it's kind of hard to gauge, right? When you see a label and maybe you're getting the support, but you're not seeing it on other things. And there are so many labels out there that are just constantly feeding the system. And, you know, some of them are quantity over quality and just constantly pumping it out. And that's a whole different ballgame. I did want to touch on something you said earlier, though, Kai, about collaboration and learning from that, because I think in my experience personally, it is so important. Getting in the room and the studio with other people, if you're an up-and-coming producer, you know, just to see how somebody does one trick to take away one thing from a session is like so valuable and can become a big part of like your whole process of making music. So that's definitely a great, you know, way to learn and enhance your production skills. How about you? Any labels in specific that you feel like you had a really close relationship with that pushed a little extra?
Yeah, actually, the best one I've ever had was a really small label. It's called Fine Music. This was like 2 years into releasing, but they were really... One thing I haven't really gotten yet from a label is like them being the ones that are super forward with everything, and like I don't have to ask any, like I don't want to have to ask any questions. Like if I sign a record, I would like to be like, oh, hey, this is the plan, this is what's happening, rather than having to tell them, okay, guys, I think this is like, I like the whole collaboration thing. So it's called Fine Music. It's really cool. It's like minimal, deep, more on the deeper side of stuff. But they told me the date right away. They told me like I didn't have to wonder about anything, and it was really, really nice. Even after the release, they're like, hey, this is what's happening. This, because a lot of times, I think you can attest to this, you put out a record and it's like all this hype and it comes out and you're like, okay, now what?
Yeah.
But yeah.
On to the next one.
Yeah, exactly.
Plus, it is tough when you don't have those communications with the label and you're like, hey, do you guys have the artwork yet? Or what's the release date going to be?
Yeah.
That stuff gets very frustrating.
It's really frustrating. Yeah. That's why I do like having my own label. It's not for everyone. It's a lot of work. I have a really great team behind me to help me run it. So
the accounting is a whole beast of its own.
I haven't looked at any of that.
Don't. You'll go blind, I promise.
Yeah.
So, because I'm sure a lot of people are curious about the conversation of labels and such. What is it that you look for in a label that you would want to release with? Maybe it's just their catalog, or what kind of things do you also expect from a label to put behind a release for you?
Yeah, so when I first started releasing music, it was just I like that artist that runs the label. I really like the catalog in it. And then over time, that has become way less important to me. And the more thing like Kyle was saying, like the caring aspect. So now I look for labels that don't release so often, maybe once every 4 to 6 to 8 weeks, because I know for a fact that it's going to be way more difficult to get on a label that only has between 8 to 10 releases a year. But because of that, you know for a fact that they're going to care because they're not just turning over and turning over. And it gives you a spotlight too. I feel like some of these labels, they release a track and then they have another track next week. It's kind of, you just come and go. So I think that's something I really look for in a label. And I think return on investment is really important too, because newsflash, you don't make really any money on releasing music. And
that was gonna be my next question. Have you seen any checks yet?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm just kidding.
The label now is that we have some royalties coming in, which is nice. It kind of covers itself. But majority, if you're just releasing with another label, you're probably not going to see any money unless you get a sync deal or something like that. So yeah, I think that's what I'd say about that.
Nice. Do you see a lot of sync in the house world for the labels that you've signed with? Or like, oh yeah, we have an in-house sync and licensing department.
For me, not so much. I'm sure you probably have more in that realm than I do, but
I haven't. I mean, TikTok has been big, but haven't seen any money or anything from TikTok. So it's, yeah, I don't know. It's weird for sure. But yeah, I didn't get into this for the money anyway. So
right, for sure. It's just one avenue, you know, that's part of the process.
yeah. I kind of got caught in the middle of my thought there. But yeah, so the whole point about return on investment is if you're not going to get money out of it, make sure you're going to get put on a show. Make sure you're going to have like a good relationship with them. Maybe they can do something with you outside the release. just more things than just putting out the record, I think is really important. So I think having those conversations before you sign the record is important too. You know, it's great to get a record signed, but if they're going to sign it and they're not going to do anything, you might as well not even do it at all, or just put it out yourself, because it's super easy to self-release music nowadays. So
That's true. It's become easier and easier to produce, self-release, all these things, right?
yeah, I think it's really good in a lot of ways, but I think it creates a lot of laziness in a lot of ways, because there's no like barrier to entry anymore. So people are like, oh, I have a record label, just put it out and whatever happens.
Yeah, that's also very true. Speaking of collaborations, can we expect anything between the two of you in the future?
Yeah, definitely.
Sweet.
I was
the short answer.
Yeah, I was talking out there. Kai's taught me a lot just from even working with him, just like from a collaboration aspect, just from plugins to just like little tweaks or little mixing things. It definitely collaborate as much as possible. It also makes it way more fun.
Yeah, it's true. It can get a little lonely in there in the studio, as we know. Just sitting there waiting to go to the bathroom for 3 hours while you're working on the same, bass line, and you're like, I'm just gonna go now and come back in 5 minutes, and hope you get a new idea. And most of the time, you might not, but that's all right. Very cool. Speaking of learning and education, I kind of wanted to bring up Kai. You have been doing quite a bit of education, and teaching other people to produce and DJ. Or you want to touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, I do both. I've been doing lessons now for, I guess it's been 2 full years now. I've always liked helping and doing that sort of thing, even outside of music. But it's just something, I never really thought about it. I never was like, I'm going to start doing production lessons. It was kind of just, I would find myself helping and giving feedback a lot. And then eventually I was like, okay, let me just try offering production lessons. And I got an overwhelming, I think there's such a shortage of actual teachers out there who know what they're talking about, because there's a lot of misinformation on YouTube. So for anyone who goes on YouTube, to be very careful about who you listen to. There's a lot of good information. There's a lot of bad information. So just be sure to make sure that stuff it's hard to tell it's correct, but just send it to a couple of your friends who work in the education space and they can validate that for you. But yeah, I've been doing it for 2 years now. I think it's great. I like it. It gives me an opportunity to connect with the community a lot more and put personality behind it. And I feel like the people who I've taught, and I think I have a couple of students here, they become some of my really good friends. And one of my students, Pedro here, we just made a track yesterday. So it's cool to work on tracks with my students as well. I think it's awesome. It's a benefit for me and for them and the community.
Yeah, they're making the drum grooves and bass lines the way you tell them. You just go in, sprinkle a little on top. No, I'm just kidding around. That's awesome, though. You get to grow, watch somebody else kind of grow their career and be part of it, and then build the friendship with them. That's amazing. It's also so important to have somebody as, like, when you're a producer, to have like a soundboard you can like kind of bounce. Hey, how is this? Does it need improvement? That's always like really important. That's great that you can provide that for people.
Yeah, I think my biggest advice too is if you can't afford a teacher or you haven't found one yet that you like, just get yourself a crew of like 3 to 4 people who are brutally honest with you, and not someone you're gonna be like, hey, how's this sound? Like, it sounds good. You want someone to be like, this is not good for this reason, and you can be better. So get yourself like brutally honest friends. And I wouldn't check with too many different people. I think going back to the same people who understand what you're doing is really important, because everyone has a different opinion. So if I send the same track to everyone in this room, they're all gonna have a different opinion. So then you have contradicting. So just get yourself someone that you trust.
I'm sure most of them are gonna say it's cool if you send them a track.
I don't know. You never know.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. That's true. The kick drum could be a little punchier, Kai.
Always.
So you guys have done quite a bit of touring and shows all around North America and some of Europe, I presume. Kyle, I saw recently you did Arc Festival Elrose stage. Tell us about that. That looked pretty crazy, and Elrose is like one of the best parties in the world. So
yeah,
I'm sure that was pretty insane.
It was definitely insane. I kind of knew what to expect just because Elrose, I've seen on Instagram and all that stuff, but it was awesome being able to like come into Chicago, and especially in Chicago, you notice when like, I don't know, house music just hits different there. The crowd was awesome. The like production was awesome. Elro, it shows they really care about, like, again, they really care about the music and like putting on a good show and making sure everyone's having an amazing time, and it shows.
Amazing. And Kai, you got to play at the Off the Grid at Mirage party. And you've played Mirage a couple times, am I right?
Yeah, I think like 3 or 4 times.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Every room at this point, do you think?
I have not. Yeah, I played all three rooms.
Sick.
Yeah,
What's it like playing up there in the main stage?
at the Mirage.
Yeah.
It's cool. I think each room is very cool for their own reason. Outside Mirage, you get like the holy shit moment.
I
It's
bet.
like all these people. Yeah, it's really cool. But then also in the King's Hall, it's like, I don't even know if I could call it intimate. It's just a little more like, yeah, it is more intimate. You can actually see everyone's face when you're in there. And the Great Hall is just like this banging Brooklyn warehouse vibe, which that's my favorite vibe.
Yeah, same. It's like a knockdown center kind of vibes.
Yeah, I love the Knockdown Center. It's one of my favorite venues. It's super, super cool. I like super long and just a great vibe in there.
Yeah, it looks amazing. It's real simple production. Do you guys have a preference on that, on the production side? Do you prefer the big video wall? Do you want just some lights and keep it simple and let the music kind of take the party? Or what are your opinions on that?
I think it depends on the location. I've had great sets, and some of my best sets are my best sets are probably when it's just the music and just a little bit of lights and some fog. But then it's cool to play like the Mirage stages with the big LED screen. They each offer their own thing, but I really enjoy the intimate stuff personally.
Yeah. How about you, Kyle?
Yeah, the intimate stuff is awesome. They all have their like things to give. I kind of I got into this by going to like music festivals. So Hard Summer in LA, EDC in Las Vegas. So my like time has been spent more on like the bigger stage of things. So that's kind of more what I'm like used to seeing and stuff like that. But yeah, there's nothing really like in Miami for Hocus Pocus. There's this what's that venue called where they have all those stages? Factory Town.
Yes.
And there's a stage there that's like a bit more intimate, and it's just in between two cement walls, and there's really
Like an alleyway.
like an alleyway, and it's
Nice.
so cool, man. So cool.
Yeah, that place is amazing. I've seen the Elro footage there. It's huge outside the
Yeah.
main area.
Yeah.
Wild. Any dream venues that you guys haven't played yet that you want to play? In a global, looking at it anywhere around the world, any venues you're like, oh, this place would be amazing to play. I've seen videos there. And
I mean, like Crypto.com Arena in LA, or like old Staples Center, for sure.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Kai, you got any dream spots?
Damn stadiums.
Yeah, going straight for the stadium.
Yeah, so I have, I guess, like in the United States, funny enough, I just got booked at the church in Denver. It's one of the first places I ever went to a rave. I saw Claude Von Stroke there like 5-6 years ago. And I was like, I can't believe I'm in a church right now. It's just so crazy. So I'm playing there in a couple weeks, which I'm very excited about. And then there's a place called Thuishaven in Amsterdam, which I went to a rave to. Super, super cool. They have this like hangar, and there's this big fan going behind, and just there's like bleachers in the back. It's a really cool vibe in there.
Nice. Like Total Recall?
Yeah. And then they and then they have like this big sand pit outside, which is the main stage. And then they have like this circus tent, which is really, really cool. Just awesome vibe all around. I would love to play there.
Nice. Speaking of touring, I guess, do you guys have any touring? Are you guys touring right now with like over the next couple months? Do you have a specific tour dates coming up around the country or international or anything?
Yeah, I think I have like 6 or 7 shows before the end of the year. And then my team's working really hard to put a tour together for next year. So more news on that soon.
Nice. I know Griffin's out there working, man.
Yeah.
We spoke a lot this
my
week.
agents are actually here right now.
Nice.
They're right
And
there.
shout out to the agents who are here.
Yeah, got a few shows. Really excited to go back to space in Miami, playing with Nicole Madauber.
Sweet.
Yeah, should be an amazing time. I'm most looking forward to that. And then, of course, New Year's should be amazing. I'm in Vegas for New Year's.
The Vegas Sphere, which is just one below the stadiums that you're truly desiring
Yeah,
to
with
play.
you too.
Nice.
Yeah, back to back.
Sick. All right, Bono, you're up next, buddy. I'm at 128. Yeah. No, that's cool, man. How about any dream collabs? You guys have any artists in mind that you're like really want to collaborate with? Maybe in a realistic approach too. I mean, I'm sure at this point you could reach out to many different people and probably get some big names to collab with you.
Yeah. As far as collabs go, I feel like I work better when like I have a relationship actually with the person.
Yeah.
I can get more of a vibe of what we're trying to do rather than me just send an idea, you add a couple things on, and then we call it a song. I think, I don't know. So yeah, I'm eager to work with more people. I guess I just need to go out there and really like talk to more people then. But yeah, nothing really in like mindset of anyone to collab with right now.
All right. Besides Kai, of course.
I guess it depends what day of the week you ask me, because I'm so all over the place all the time with my music. I have a lot of music that's not like what I have out right now. So I don't know. Hassan's 82 is a big inspiration for me. He would be incredible to work with, obviously. And then there's this guy I'm obsessed with recently. His name is Bakey. He's in more of like that breaks sphere. You guys should check him out if you don't know who he is. He's incredible. So that would be my 2 answers.
Nice.
Today,
yeah. We'll hit you up tomorrow and we can post
ask
it
me
online
tomorrow.
later. Nice. Okay, let's see here. So, releasing music on the regs, touring on the regs. Do you guys have any big plans for next year already? Or are you just, I mean, imagine these things are getting booked pretty far out at this point.
Nothing like super big that I'm like looking forward to as of next year. I guess I'm looking forward to releasing more music. I kind of was trying to like find my sound a lot this year. I've released a lot of different type of music. And it was all just kind of like a discovery thingy. I was like trying to figure out what was calling me in a way. And I think I've found it. It's just, I'm very excited to be putting out more new music next year.
Amazing. So you felt like you really got to chisel it down this year and dial in a sound that you kind of want to run with more specifically.
Yeah. And I think more artists should try to not be like scared to experiment. And if that means putting out something and seeing how people react to it, you should do it. And just to see how you feel about it being out in the world and how it's being received. And yeah, I think trying a lot of different things to hone in on what is actually truly you is a good thing to do.
Right. It'll be the most sincere, I guess, right?
Right.
What type of approach did you take to experimenting with different sounds or styles, or what, how did you tackle that on and say, you know what? Are you just kind of making what comes to you, or you're like, I kind of did this one, let me try a different vibe here and switch into these sounds and these samples? Or
Yeah, it's a lot of like what I was listening to at the time. So like right now I'm like very inspired by like sample heavy hip hop, like boom bap 90s stuff. So I'm trying to bring that into like a 4x4 beat, and I'm having probably the most fun making music I've ever had doing it. So
Nice.
It feels right.
You should just make like a hip hop B-side and just put it.
Yeah.
Could be fun, something different, right? Mix it up a little bit.
Absolutely.
How about you, Kai?
Yeah. So next year we're gonna be focusing really hard on the and hair and the record label. We're gonna rebrand a little bit. Not so much sound, more just like aesthetics, events, more educational opportunities, and just becoming more than just a record label. Because I've always wanted to do this, but I wanted to focus on one thing at a time. I have a habit of biting off more than I can chew. So we were really patient with this, and I think I had I feel like this is kind of like my breakout year. It feels like it anyway. Now I feel like I'm really ready to hit that hard. I feel I have my full team now. So on every aspect, someone's working on something for me and with me. So I'm just really ready to do the events next year. Super excited.
Nice.
Yeah, first one will be in February. So I'm super excited.
Congrats.
Thank you.
When did you...
I'll tell you guys later.
Let's go. When did you get connected with an agent? Because I feel like it wasn't too long ago on Twitter. You're like, I'm ready for an agent.
Yeah. I remember that. So I had a show in Atlanta, and there was somebody there named Willem, and he was friends with Gabby, and they connected about it. We had a conversation, and then we just set up a call with them, and this was like 3 months ago. Yeah. And hit it off really well with them. They've become very, very good friends of mine, which for me, that's important. For anyone looking to build a team, make sure you're like friends with these people. You're gonna be with them all of the time. So you want to pick friends
that you trust.
Right. Yeah. So that was about three months ago. But yeah, the agency thing was interesting because it's like, I mean, they really do kind of control your trajectory and stuff like that. So you want to make sure, just be patient, because the more patient you are, the more better opportunities that will come around. And the more established people want to represent you, and it will go much further than you just taking anybody that comes at you, who might not have as much leverage to do what you want to do. So being patient was important with that for sure. Even though I was bitching about it all the time, I'm happy I was patient because I have a really great team now.
Nice. Yeah, I've heard that before too, being patient, especially when you are like earlier in your career, not you in particular, but anybody, they kind of get signed with an agency and then they're like, great, it's all going to happen overnight now. I'm going to get all these dream gigs and it's all going to happen. But it kind of slows down and you are kind of at the mercy of some other people making the plan for you.
Yeah.
Was that a bit of a change and a hard adjustment to make?
Yeah, so I think even when I got a manager, I was thinking that too. It's like, oh, my life's gonna change overnight, but this stuff, yeah, you do get less gigs because you want more serious ones. So you're better off, playing like the I don't even call them real shows, but like the more legit shows, than playing like a rinky-dink show for some promoter who doesn't really care about you, that's just in it for money or whatever. Just making sure everything's curated properly and it aligns with your goals and your vision and your trajectory.
Nice. How about you, Kyle? How long was it into your DJ career before you linked up with an agent and a manager?
2021, I signed with an agent, and I was lucky enough. My brother-in-law introduced me to my first ever manager in Arizona. He was amazing, still is, really good friends with him. He chose to go down a different music route and introduced me to his good friends at the time, Metatone, who like maybe 4 people were signed to them at the time. John being one of the guys, and then the other guys aren't on the team anymore. But yeah, like I was with a manager starting, I don't know, like 2016, and then 2018 I went to Metatone. So however many years that is.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Any advice you would give to people when looking for a manager besides somebody that you're friends with or an agent? Like because I'm sure everybody's like, I'm ready to get these next steps in my career. Like, what do you think are some actions that people can take to try to get closer to that?
I think the best advice I could give on that is like let it come naturally to you. I think when you're forcing it, you might persuade someone to come into it when they're not ready, so they wouldn't give it your all. So when I met Griffin, my manager now, we met through a buddy named Matt Egbert who had released on my label. That's how I met Matt, and we threw a party between his promotion company and mine at the time. And me and Griffin met through that, and we just naturally had a conversation. He just said, I want to start managing some artists, and I was like, oh, cool. Like, you can start with me if you want. Because we got along so well and I could tell he genuinely cared. So that was a very natural opportunity versus me going out and saying, oh, I need to find a manager and talking to every single. It's okay to let people know that. I think that is important too, kind of manifesting it because you never know who's around, but don't force it, and also be patient, ask the right questions, have a conversation beforehand and make sure that they understand what you're trying to do. Because if they have a different vision for what you're doing, they're going to make you do things you don't want to do. So I think it's super important to be fully aligned before you'll have your disagreements, and I definitely do with Griffin for sure. But yeah, I think just making sure you guys are on the same page before you move forward with everything.
Yeah, that is 100%. Definitely got to be on the same page so that you guys have the same plan and can just execute the plan, right?
Yeah, and I think just being patient has become such a great skill for me. I mean, for everybody. Your time will come, and just be consistent, put out good quality work, and you will attract the right people to work with you for sure. I know It seems like it's never going to happen, but it will. It might take 2 years, 4 years, it might take 10 years, but it will happen if you keep working at it.
I agree. And it's tough. I mean, you see social media, you see all the Instagram, you see all the big shows, and you're just like, man, I want that so bad. Like, when is my turn,
Yeah, the social media thing is super deceiving. I've had weeks and month-long period where I'm posting all these cool shows, and then while I'm posting them, I'm like, oh, God damn it, there's so much wrong right now. So you don't know what's going through everybody. I'm sure Kyle's been through it too. It's not all rainbows and butterflies for sure.
Yeah. So is there anything else you guys want to add before we open up the floor to Q&A? Not much?
Thanks for coming, guys.
Yeah, I really appreciate the turnout tonight. Yeah. If anybody has any questions, you can come on up and just talk into the mic. That would be great. And just ask your question here so we can get it captured into the live stream. You come over this way.
All right.
State your name.
What's up, guys? My name is Phil. I have a couple questions, if you don't mind. So the first question, you guys are obviously on tour, like playing these big clubs and stuff. What do you think was the moment or the reason why, like, you went from a bedroom producer or like a local DJ to touring at these places?
Definitely having an agent helped with that a lot. It makes it feel, I mean, it definitely turns into like a real job as soon as you get an agent and a manager. You're starting to make money for other people. Um, so I would say like once you start to actually build like a team, everything starts to feel a lot more real and like takes it out of the bedroom.
I think taking the right opportunities and not taking every opportunity just because you can go play a party doesn't mean it's going to do anything for you. Just make sure all your moves are very strategic. You're better off playing 4 to 5 good shows in 1 year that go very, very well than playing 25 that no one is ever going to remember. So I think just being very strategic with what you do, set your goals and just use those kind of as like your pillars to just guide you throughout. And networking is super important. I mean, this is no different from any other job. Like, network is your net worth. So go meet as many people, especially in this industry. It's so easy to meet people. Everyone's very friendly. We're very fortunate to that. So meeting people, collaborating, going out, talking, be strategic when you go out, find out who the promoter is, go talk to them, let them know how you're feeling about the party. Maybe try to grab a drink with them or something and just get to know them and build those relationships, because that's really what is going to take you to the next level.
Awesome. Thank you. And my second question is, right now, like, social media is obviously huge. That's basically how you promote yourself these days. So, but obviously the music's also really important. What do you guys think is like a good balance, or like what's more important nowadays to kind of put yourself out there? Is it social media or is it quality of music?
That's a good question. Get the music down first before you worry about social media, because if you don't have that down, then does it really matter, the social media? So I think focus on making really good music that is undeniably good, that people will be like, this is amazing, and then worry about the social media after the fact. I think a lot of people get really wrapped up in the social media, but I think, and then they do things they don't want to do. They make these, like, I guess I say cringy TikToks and stuff like that. And, they look back on it like, why did I do that? So yeah, just do what feels right. If you're not the kind of person who's comfortable in front of the camera, don't like get on your story and be like, hey, what's good? Like, don't do that. If you're more of a production nerd, just post videos of you jamming out in your studio. Just do things that are natural to you, that you're excited to do, and then social media will become a lot easier. For me, I like to talk a lot, so I don't mind hopping on there and talking and being more front facing. But if you're the kind of person that's not, there's a lot of other alternatives. So hope that answers your question.
Yeah, definitely get the music down first. Once you're happy with the music, I've noticed that I'll like section my week or my days off rather. So Monday, I'm just working on music. That's it. I'm not looking at social media. I'm not doing any of that. Tuesday, it's all social media. So I'm like looking for inspiration, trying out things, just looking for ideas. Wednesday, maybe we're like executing those ideas. Thursday, back to production. It's just that. So I've noticed like really sectoring off and like actually treating it like a job is a way to really like get things nailed and focused.
Thank you, guys.
I just wanted to touch really quick on getting FaceTime with people, and networking is so important in this business, because you go out and you'll run into people all the time, and just getting that little bit of FaceTime just goes such a long way. I feel like, you got to stay in people's sight, out of mind. So social media is a good way to stay in people's sight, releasing music, networking, all these things kind of definitely help and spiral. But it's funny also just thinking about social media, and it's like you see so many people kind of take off on there and you're like, it's working for them. I don't know. Is that the path for me? And it's just like, leave so many questions in your head.
Yeah, one thing I did notice is I feel like the long organic growth is better for longevity. I do feel like a lot of times these viral videos, people will follow these people because of that video and maybe not be so invested in them. When I'm sure many of you can relate. The example I'll use is Michael Bibi. I've been following him for years and years on Instagram before any of this, and it's cool. I've seen his whole journey, and I'm way much more connected to him that way versus finding him on a viral video. So there are I call them sticky fans, or sticky followers that will follow you because they are genuinely interested in you versus a viral video. So I wouldn't get so caught up in just like chasing virality. Is that a word? Yeah.
Wonderful. Any other questions we have? We got one here from Aaron.
What's up, guys? How's it going? I know you're not going to be surprised to hear the question from the promoter. Kyle, we did a show in 2021, and Kai, we're going to find a time to do one. And I'd also like to hear Gabby's answer at this at some point. But, you know, you've got a lot of local promoters, maybe smaller guys who love acts like you, and you guys are on this great growth where you're working with folks at Avant Gardner and these bigger festivals. What do you or your team need to see from maybe smaller promoters or more local folks to feel like that's worth your time? Because I know a lot of times there's exclusivity clauses with these larger promoters. How can a smaller promoter provide value to your team to where you'd want to work with them?
That's a really good question. I think it goes back to the record label thing, just showing you care and like an investment in the artist itself and not just a one and done show up. And, you know, if you can come to the table with a plan of, hey, we want to bring him here multiple times and here's our plan to do it. It's nice to play for Avant and people like that, but I have really small promoter friends, like the ones you're probably referring to now, that I would much rather play for them than some of the bigger venues because I know they're going to take care of me. I know they've built a very legitimate following of me specifically with their crowd. So if I can know that we have multiple things coming up with them and they want to build long term, then I'm going to take that all day. You know, I think that's more really important to me anyway.
That is a really good question. I think maybe, like maybe bringing like a unique quality that these other bigger promoters can't really bring because they have tickets to sell and like they have an audience that they need to please. So you can maybe hit a more niche thing and like bring some type of unique atmosphere or unique, just something unique that these other bigger venues aren't bringing that is going to attract value.
Thanks, guys.
I think a good example of that actually is Raw Cuts. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with them. They do like a really good job. They basically, for anyone who doesn't know, they do these really high quality recorded sets, and everyone wants to play for them because you get a free 4K recording of your set with multiple cameras, and it's a really unique thing. So, I mean, they're able to get whoever they want now because who doesn't want a 4K recorded set?
That's true. They did a great job with that. Maybe that's an approach for promoters to offer, you know, recording the sets on a multi-camera setup, just to put that out there, because I think coming away from these events, it's always like, I got to hire somebody to come and take content and do all this stuff. And maybe that helps them be more flexible on the budget for an event also, just to put that out there. Just hit me on that idea. Anyway, anybody else have any questions in the room? I think we got one back here.
Hey guys, how's it going?
What up, Pedro?
How's it going, guys? Hey, I'm Pedro. Hi, Kyle. Kai, how's it going? Quick question. We've talked about, or you guys have spoken about, you know, having labels that give you exposure. I wanted you guys to elaborate more on the promo list, like in terms of like, you know, sending your songs to DJs, and I wonder if that has escalated your careers thus far. Yep. Thank you.
Most definitely. Send your music once you are happy with it. Send it to anyone. I would send out like, I don't know how many emails when I was just like in my bedroom. Luckily enough, when I was back making like a more bassy music, I just sent a cold email to a producer that went by Jaws, and he hit me back and really liked it, and we cultivated a relationship. He signed me to his label, brought me on tour, all from an email. So it's probably one of 1,000 emails I sent in that like span of like 6 months or 4 months. Yeah, definitely like a quantity thing, just attack. Definitely.
Yeah, fully echoing that. It's a numbers game for sure. Producers get so much. I'm sure you get a bunch. Producers are pretty accessible now. I'm on TrackStack. A lot of artists are as well. Emails are easy to get now, but there is a lot that come through. So just keep sending. And I don't think it's annoying either, because we all get it. Like, it's hard to get in touch with people. I get like 50 to 70 promos a week just now, and I can only imagine the bigger guys, like someone like Jamie Jones. I could never even imagine how many he goes to every day. But yeah, just keep sending.
I kind of have a related question. So like receiving like in-flight promos and such, how much of that do you actually end up taking and then end up playing in your sets? Because I'm sure both of you play a lot of your own original music as well in your sets. So like how much of your set are you giving to outside music?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't really think about it. I really do read the room, and I don't try to force anything, but half my set is my own music and my label music, and then the rest is usually for whatever. But it's not like there's no template to it. I think it's hard to do when you're supposed to be reading the room, you know?
For sure. I mean, I've met some DJs that are like, I'm only playing my own stuff tonight, but they're very well established and people want to hear all their music. But, you know, I'm curious about that because, like, you know, I've released a lot of music and I send my stuff through the in-flight promos and you get the reports back and you're like, sweet, you know, Marco Carolla, R. Houghton, getting everybody's music on the entire planet, Clapton and all these guys. And you're like, I don't know who's going to end up supporting it and who ends up playing in their set. So it's kind of curious just to see how you guys felt about that. Do you have anything to say about that, Kyle?
Yeah, I definitely check in-flight, dispersion, all that. And if I'm downloading it, I'm going to play it out, most definitely.
Nice. Yeah. Do you guys also do like podcasts, radio shows?
This is the first time I've ever like talked to a group of people on a microphone.
Nice. But you don't do like a radio show of your own? Like,
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I do not.
Yeah, okay. Because that's kind of a good way I've seen bigger DJs take the opportunity to take all that in-flight music and promos that they like and support artists one way, maybe not live, but here's my radio show and such. You know, it's kind of a good way to give back.
Yeah, I don't have a radio show or podcast. I've always flirted with the idea of having a podcast, but I'd rather just go on established podcasts and talk on there. I think podcast conversations are great. I think there's not enough of them actually for the music industry. So any opportunities I have to get on and talk shop about that, I take it for sure.
Nice. Any other questions we have? All right. We got somebody in the back there. Come on down. Like the Price is Right. I had to do it. Here you go.
Hey guys, I'm Billy. I go by Sangrang. I've sent some demos to you guys, actually just to end here. But the question is, let's say you do send that 100 demos or 100 labels, right? And then one of them gets picked, or let's say 3 labels pick it. How do you go about deciding which label without the other 2 getting mad? Because I've run into that.
The easiest way to avoid that is to just be patient and send one at a time. I know it's frustrating because you want your music out, but this is all about relationships. So you don't want to burn any bridges before they're even built. So I'm pretty lenient with it. I mean, it happens. This happened actually yesterday, but you know, I just reached out to the artist, let them know to please don't do that again. I'm not gonna like completely cut them out, but yeah, just try to be patient and like if you send it to 100 labels, that's quite a lot. I think just be more strategic and like, okay, these are my 5 labels I want to release on this year, and I'm going to focus on those 5. And then, you know, it might take you 2 months to get through all of them. I say 2 weeks is a good before you can probably move on. Yeah, that's what I would say about that.
Nice.
I think 1 is good. That like after 7 days, a nice follow up, and then. But let's say you already sent them out. It's always good to have more music. So if let's say a label took it, other label was interested, like, hey, sorry, it ended up going with this other label. Explain your reason why. Here's some more music that I would love to sign with you, though.
Nice. Great advice. And a big don't, which I've seen a lot of A&Rs complain on Twitter and whatnot, that don't send an email to like all of the labels in one email with all their emails visible. That is a big do not do. I'm seeing a couple nods of shame in the crowd. That's okay.
And then there's always the couple guys that like to make a joke about it, and they're like, LOL, and it just becomes like a public shaming thread. I always feel really bad. I don't ever do that, but yeah, it's like you can see all the labels' emails. Yeah.
Agreed. The one at a time is the best way to do it. Get the response, let them take it or turn it down, and move on to the next one. It takes much more time to do that. Anybody else with some questions in the crowd tonight? All right, we got one in the back. Come on down. You don't get the fancy music, but it took you a little longer. No problem. Oh, Jack, hello.
Thanks for coming, guys. Just one question. What's the biggest mistake you've had going along your career that you feel like you've learned the most from? You know, we've had a lot of do's, but what are the don'ts and mistakes?
That's a good question. I guess it's kind of been like the topic of the night is just be as patient as you can. It's so hard, and I know like, man, the amount of times I've just been in my room, just like pacing, just yeah. If you can be, the more patient you can be, the better it's going to be for you in the long run, 100%. And if I could have been more patient on some older projects, I probably would have been happier now. But learn from that, obviously, and then take that with me to the next one.
Yeah, I don't want to overuse the word patience, but I think for me it was like rushing out demos, like finishing it and then sending it out right after the export without sleeping on it, which, as everyone knows, on fresh ears things sound a lot worse than they did the night before.
That is a
So
fact.
yeah, I used to do that all of the time. It was like I would export it, it would go right to Gmail.
Just export to Safari.
Yeah, and then obviously would not get a reply. So yeah, patience.
And revisiting your mixes is always a good thing to keep in
Yeah,
mind.
I always say don't even listen to it for a week if you can, and then go back to it with super fresh ears, because for me it's like 90% of the time I'm like, what is this? But yeah.
Do you guys still do like the multi-speaker test? You do the car test and all that? None of that anymore.
I don't. I use SonarWorks. It's like an absolute blessing. I think I've made all my students get it, but it basically flatlines your monitor. So for anyone who doesn't know, these monitors are colored in certain areas. Also, some are more bass heavy, some are more treble heavy. So what it does is to give you this microphone. It's like $300. Best $300 ever spent. Shoots out frequencies throughout the room and these signals, and then it takes like 20 minutes, and then it sounds good everywhere. It's awesome. I mix and master tracks for hundreds of people, and it's been like the best investment I've ever had. I know for a fact that my music will sound the same here as it does in my car, as it does in my house. So Sonar works. And Black Friday is coming up, so if anyone's trying to stockpile the plugins, this is the time to do it.
Yeah, and just for a little shameless plug real quick, we do have a discount on SonarWorks for our members here at Sound Collective. And a bunch of other things, so definitely check that out. Did you have something to add to that, Kyle?
No.
Okay, cool. Any other questions in the crowd tonight? We got 2. All right. Come on up. Brad guy.
Yes. How are you guys? My question is from the artist perspective as well as the label's perspective. What are a couple things that maybe an artist can do to make a demo stand out, or what are the things that you notice with demos that do stand out?
I mean, the first thing I always hear in a track, regardless of genre, is drums. So if you can have like very unique drums, I'll definitely give it like an extra 10 to 15 seconds on a listen. And typically if I'm listening it for like 10 to 15 seconds, I'm going to listen to the whole thing. So yeah, I would say like having unique drum sounds is definitely a way to stick out. Yeah.
For sure. I'm a sucker for a good mix, for sure. But I think for me, I'm very relationship based. So if you can get to know me a little bit, if anyone knows me, I'm really, really responsive on Instagram. It's where I do most of my communicating. So talk to me for a bit before you send me music. And then I'll probably listen right off of Instagram versus track stack. So, but don't tell too many people that.
Everybody's watching from around the world right now. It's being live streamed to every country.
Yeah, relationships are super important too. Same thing. Yeah, sending demos to labels, same thing. Like get to know them, and just I want to know who you are as a person. So when I'm signing an artist, I'm not just signing them. I'm signing like them as a person as well. Applying to a job is the same as sending a demo to a label. So I want to make sure you're a good candidate all around, because you are a representation of us. So I need to know you have the same values as us.
Nice. Do you do multi-song deals or just kind of single one-offs most of the time?
We haven't, but one of the big things we've been talking about the label is developing artists and not just signing one-off tracks, because it's so hard to predict a hit nowadays. Even the major labels are struggling with that. I've been hearing that a lot. So I think when you can develop an artist with your brand is much more valuable than just a one song that might do pretty well. If you think of the biggest brands in the world, like I'll use No Art, for example, or Solid Grooves, like, Solid Grooves crew, the PIV crew, the No Art crew. So I think the value in that is super important.
100%. Anybody else? We got one here from Sir Malcolm.
That's good. So obviously you said, some of your music that you have now that's lined up is not necessarily lined up, but at least made is like a lot different from the stuff that you've put out in the past. So what are your guys' thoughts about like, you have a bunch of tracks out, it's kind of all in this lane, and then you might have a track or a couple tracks that are different. Like, are you strategic about releasing those at a time when you feel like you want to specifically like make a sort of targeted shift in a certain direction, or do you just kind of put things out as you feel like you want to put a certain track out, like really that you're happy with it or whatever, like especially like if it's in a slightly different lane?
I would say having a plan is 100% the way to do it. This year, I didn't do it that way and learned a lot from it. But I would say if you are wanting to like switch up your sound, having a plan about how you're going to go about it, maybe announcing something, is definitely the way to do it. Not just throwing something out there that's a curveball to people and not saying anything, because it's going to be received probably in a weird way.
I think stacking your music, having a backlog of tracks is really important, because then that kind of gives you a general overview, instead of making something, putting it out. If you can have 5, even just 5 tracks, then you have a better idea of, okay, well, maybe we'll try to put this one out first and kind of build a story with it, versus, putting out a disco record, then putting tech house, then putting a techno. Yeah, definitely have a plan. It's super important, but just stack the music and then make the music first and worry about that after the fact. But just have a backlog is super important.
Nice. Did you have anything else you wanted to add to that? No, that was it. All right. Well, thank you for your question. All right. I think we got time for one more. We got one over here. You want to come on down?
I'm Frank. Was wondering, like for the production process, like what's the most fun part about it for you guys individually, and like what are maybe some things that you do to like get inspired in the studio as well?
I wake up and I listen to music I've never heard before, like for the first hour or two. So I'll go to Spotify, click shuffle on my playlist, go to the song, click on that song, go to the radio, and then just go down a rabbit hole. And I've been incredibly inspired by doing that just from the past like 2 months. So like having a routine of listening to new music and not just hearing the things that you want to hear all the time, but maybe expanding your palette and listening to like some music you didn't think you were going to listen to before, or like going to events that you don't see yourself going to. You might learn a lot about yourself. You might learn a lot about music, and you can carry that into your production, and it can help a lot.
Yeah, I'm kind of more of a inspiration by doing. So by that I mean just trying something new in your production process every time. Learning a new trick can open up so many doors for you, that can trigger something. So I'm not really one of those people who can see something and be inspired. It's more like when I'm doing it in the moment. So just learning I try to learn something new every time I produce. For anyone who's producing knows there's a million buttons. Just press them all and see what happens. More times than not, you'll learn something, and then that can create just a whole rabbit hole of just cool new tricks and inspiration for sure. And Kyle's point was incredible too. Just don't keep listening to the same things over and over again. There's a website I use all the time called sample.io. I think I showed you that one. It just finds you, it's like internet crate digging, and it will just spit out random music on YouTube like till the end of time. It's a really great website.
Nice. I also, just to add to that, I find like buying a new like soft synth or a new piece of gear or something, it's a great way to just get inspiration from sounds and, just play with different sounds that you don't have already, or get a new piece of gear or something is a great way to tap into some inspo.
Yeah, I get that for sure.
Nice. All right. Well, this is going to pretty much wrap up our discussion today. Thank you both for joining us. It has been a pleasure. We have raffle tickets for everybody on the way out, and the winner, which we are going to call in about 20 minutes in the student lounge where everybody was hanging out earlier, will receive 4 tickets to their show tomorrow at Musica, which is going to be a ripper. So thank you both for joining us. I am Lefty, and this will be the end of our live stream and Collective Connect series. Thank you for joining us.